Let me ask you first about this is a smaller fight on the card, but this is starting to happen a little more and more now, where you've got two guys who work at your gym, or one guy was there, one guy comes in a little later. How do you work the politics of a situation like Amir Sadallah and Johnny Hendricks?
You know what? I know Johnny doesn't have a problem with it, and I don't think Amir has a problem with it. I think first and foremost, we're competitors, we're fighters. I mean, so they train on the same mat and been in the room at the same time. In those circumstances and situations, they punch each other in the head for nothing, just to get better. So, now they're asked to do it, for their chosen profession. So I really don't see. I think people make too big a deal out of that. I think it's kind of, in my experience, it's been kind of the jiu-jitsu mentality is, oh, well, if I train over here, then I can't train there because I might have to fight that guy. And who cares? There are no secrets, And I know we're going to have more of this come up, especially with Extreme Couture. I mean, we've got a pretty deep room at 155, a lot of guys that potentially could end up fighting each other. We've got a number of guys at the 170-pound weight class that are all vying for, title contention. So, it's going to happen. We just had Bonner, and who trains with us off and on, and Mark Coleman came in to do a portion of his camp with Sean Tompkins at Extreme Couture. So, I think people make too big a deal out of that. This is what we do. We're fighters. There aren't a lot of secrets. It's not something you need to hide from. That's just my opinion, and I think it comes from my wrestling background, but I don't think it's that big a deal.
So Forrest Griffin's taking on Anderson Silva. That's one of the co-main events. So are you going to work with Forrest in the corner or not?
I think Forrest is covered. I told him if you need anything to let me know, and certainly I would be there for him, whatever he needed if he needed a corner. But I think he's handled. He looks great. He's been doing a fantastic job in training. And I can tell you one thing for sure, it's going to be a fight.
Yeah.
He's going to bring it and get in Anderson's face and make Anderson fight.
What's your opinion of what Anderson... maybe he didn't do anything. Maybe, you agree with a lot of fighters who say it was the fault of Cote and the fault of Palace Leitis, or do you fall on the side which says that Silva is so good that he could have smashed both of those guys? What do you think?
I kind of felt like he could have opened up, taken a little more risk and pushed it a little bit. Sometimes you have to temper. That's my nature, and I've gotten myself in trouble being too aggressive. So it's tough to say unless you're standing out there in that cage in his shoes, what he's seeing and what he's feeling. And both those guys, posed interesting problems, and you'd think at least on paper that he could have gone out and opened up a little more and pressed the fight a little more instead of kind of dancing around and doing some of the things he did. But it's easy to say when you're sitting outside.
Right. Yeah, it's really easy to say. I'm a great fighter outside the cage at the table a couple of rows back. Stephen Dave, Randy Couture is with us. So how much input do you have into his strategy going into the fight? And I don't know, if you ever had a chance to fight Silva, I think we could probably predict what kind of style you would use. Can Forrest do the same thing that you would do?
No, I don't think Forrest is going to try to do the same thing that I would do. Obviously, I'm going to rely heavily on my wrestling background and get my hands on Anderson Silva and tie him up as much as I can, using the fence and using the floor. And I think Forrest has a much different style. He's a huge light heavyweight. He's very physical. He's very aggressive. He's long. He's got great punching, great kicking. He has some good ground skills. He does own a few good takedowns now, and I know that those are tools that he's sharpened for this fight. So it'll be interesting to see. I've watched him train on many occasions over the last 2 months, getting ready for this fight, and he looks sharp.
And I think he has. I was going to say, I think he has a different look in his eye too, and his conditioning was a little different this time. He talked about Rashad Evans, that he felt like he was kind of lost and he wasn't fired up for the fight. I think he's had a different attitude the last couple of weeks.
He sure looks good in the training environment.
Just what he brings to the table, he may be the right kind of a guy to give Anderson a bad time of it, because he's going to put relentless pressure on him, and that to me would seem to be the not too many guys going to beat Anderson and just matching up individual traits, but just constant pressure would seem to be a smart thing to do. I mean, make him fight.
Oh, yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I think that's what we can expect from Forrest. Not just in this fight, but just about every time he steps in there, he's going to make somebody fight him.
Yep. Hey, Randy, let's close on this. And we're talking to Randy Couture as part of the Sports Legends Challenge. Randy, often a guest here on ESPN Radio 1100. He'll be out here in Philadelphia. I'm in Philly. Dave is back in Vegas. We're getting ready for UFC 101. So can you make a case for Kenny Florian? I mean, I think the guy's improvement has been spectacular, but I'm not really off the BJ Penn bandwagon, especially at 155. Or are you seeing chinks in the armor of BJ Penn?
Well, I don't think there's anybody that's going to be off the BJ Penn bandwagon. He's a hugely talented guy. And I think he's got to work a little harder, which has been his kind of Achilles heel, to be in the 155-pound class. But I think Kenny Florian absolutely has a great shot at winning this fight and taking the title. He's got a great skill set that matches up well against BJ. He's a smart, rangy fighter for the weight. He's going to use his angles and his footwork to pick and stay on BJ. He's going to move out of the way and weather those early storms with those naturally heavy hands of BJ. And I think the longer the fight goes, it's still an issue on the conditioning side for BJ Penn in a 5-round title fight. So that's the only real question anybody has ever had of BJ is, has he put in the work to go 5 rounds as hard as he needs to go? And we've seen him do it, and we've seen him not do it. So the question is what's he ready to do this time? I
can't put into words why. Maybe you have the same feeling, but I'm glad he made the effort, BJ Penn, to get a new trainer. But for some reason, Marvin Marinovich at 69 years old, I don't know. I might be wrong. Maybe the guy is a brilliant, workout guru, but it makes me nervous.
Well, I think I don't know Marv.
Yeah.
Obviously, BJ needed to make some changes and kind of adjust his training regime after the last performance with George. I'm certainly not going to criticize Marv for being 69.
I know. It just I was watching some, and all we were getting were little clips, Randy. But watching some of the training clips on the Countdown show, and it just kind of looked like some odd old school stuff.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's about a rapport with that trainer, having the respect to, if he says go put in some road work. You respect the guy, you're going to go do that, and BJ definitely needs somebody that's cracking that whip a little bit.
He does. All right, you can go to sportslegendschallenge.com and play poker with all these great sports legends. Randy, thank you. We appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for having me on.